Well, you guys have probably realized that there really is a lot out there. Justin referenced throughout his discussion that there really are so many things out there. And sometimes we're probably tempted to just think, I want to go back to pen and paper, maybe a typewriter, and perhaps just the newsstand. That would be just a great way to go back to, right? And I think if maybe 30 years ago or even 20 years ago, we'd asked the questions we asked at the beginning, I think our feedback would have been drastically different. I think this organization has its roots in traditional journalism, even from the name you all have. And a lot of you are having to grapple with the best way to use the vast number of tools that are out there. We want to try to break that down and really help provide you a simple solution. Okay? So let's jump into that. We're going to give you 3 simple steps in how to think of using the tools. Really simple steps that I think you can go away and memorize these and implement them even today. Okay? The first is that you need to be creative. This gentleman right here, William Birnbach, he was one of the co-founders of the world's first international digital advertising agency. Okay, a couple folks raised their hand that they are in advertising. We are too. So we would see this guy as kind of one of our forefathers. You know what he said? He said that creativity is not optional. It's not just a bonus that some really great companies do. It's not optional. If you want what your story to be, to cause any interest at all, it must be different, it must be creative. Now, how can we analyze your current, I'm going to use the word setup. Many of you are in control of a website. It's your job. And perhaps some of you feel a little bit overwhelmed in that process. What is a way that I could kind of help you analyze, maybe kind of give a diagnosis of your own channels? Well, there are 2 very, very key important channels that you need to examine. The first is really just the overall look and feel of your brand, or in some cases, if you're not exactly in charge of a brand, then the way that your material is presented if you're in journalism. And here are 2 questions I think you need to ask as you analyze that. First, does the look and feel of my brand clearly communicate what I do? And does it clearly communicate where you are today? Does that logo, does that look and feel look like something of 15 or 20 years ago for you? The second area you need to diagnose is your website. You need to ask 3 questions of your website as you analyze it. First of all, is this website really engaging my audience? Okay, many of you are in charge of a website. Is your website engaging your audience? Secondly, is it up to date with fresh info or content that your audience wants? And third, does it cater to your mobile audience? Almost every single person raised their hand saying that you have a mobile phone and you use it, right? Mobile smartphone. Did I ask that question? Mobile smartphone? Good. And you use it, okay? And you use it all the time to bring up websites. Somehow, often, those of us who are responsible for websites can kind of enter the delusion that, okay, I use my phone to look up everybody else's website, but nobody uses the phone to look up my website, right? That would be silly, You bet, they are on there. And you know what a great way to do this is? Get on Google Analytics. If you don't know how to do that, look it up. Pretty easy to do. We'd be glad to help you with that as well. We do that all the time. With Google Analytics, I can answer these 3 questions like that. I can find out if my website is creatively engaging my audience. If they stay for 30 seconds and then leave, guess what? Probably not engaging them. Is it up to date with fresh info? I don't need analytics for that. Just look and see if my website has changed at all in the last 10 years. Okay, and that's not an exaggeration. I just looked at somebody's website and they said, I don't think we've done anything to this website in 10 years. Literally, okay? And then does it cater to your mobile audience? And there are a lot of ways that can be done. We'll talk about that. This is what you need to do. First step, if you want to talk about how to use your tools, you need to do this diagnosis to your current look and feel of your brand, which is your logo, but it's not just your logo, it's the color scheme, it's the identity that you have, font faces, etc., and your current website that you are managing. I have the privilege actually of talking to people frequently every week, and much of the discussion that we engage in revolves around websites and logos, these 2 things. And what I find to be really a common complaint that I hear when people are comparing what they see in us, which they pick up on often in the first call that we have with them, versus maybe an agency they worked with before, was that agencies often, and even individuals, just want to provide a functional solution. In other words, okay, you need a website that shows people directions to how to get to your business. Or maybe they provide a place for articles to be posted. And that was the only concern that their previous partner had. And oftentimes the reason people come to us is because we do exactly what Justin was saying. We practice what we've preached to you, where we delve into an individual or a company's brand before we ever try to build anything for them. That is what you need to do if you are in charge of the messaging for your website. Famous quote that maybe you have said, I know I have. If we build it, they will come. Ever heard that said about a building, maybe a church, maybe a park or a school, right? Well, guess what? It may work for some of those things. Does not work for websites. Okay? It was great in this movie, but not in reality when it comes to websites. Really, you would say that a website is more like fishing. You want them to come to you? You have to go find what they are. Okay? Fishing in my bathtub has really never yielded much of anything except maybe my kids' toys. Okay? That's really about it. Guess what? We have another how you can do it slide. You're going to get a lot of this. This last point is full practical stuff, so make sure you're writing furiously. After we have been creative and we have examined our current systems and made sure that we're really creatively engaging them, this second point is that we need to go to where they are. We need to find where they are and bring them in. Okay? So we need to create intentional, engaging campaigns. I'm going to tell you 3 ways we need to do that. First of all, we need to use search campaigns. So let's just ask yourself, really generically, I should have done this before telling you this. Think about, okay, those of you who manage websites especially, where is your audience? Where are they expecting to find you digitally? Okay, I'm not talking about trade shows, we're talking about the digital tools, right? Where are they going to find you digitally? And we're going to talk about 3 places, see if you all can identify them. Where are people looking?
Website.
They're looking for websites. And how do people find websites nowadays?
Search engines.
Yes, and they've been doing that for like 20 years, actually, right? So search engines is where people are. Secondly, where are
Facebook page.
people are on Facebook. And what is Facebook a subset of?
Social media.
Social media. There are tons of tools, and they're growing by the minute, it seems. Okay? Tons of social media options out there. Social media is one of those. There's a third one that you guys probably aren't even thinking about it, but you might even be doing it right now.
Word of mouth.
Well, that is true, but that's not a digital tool necessarily, right? For some of us, it might be. No, I'm just kidding. Where are you all day long if you're like me? Sometime at the red light. Email. Where are your customers? There in their email inboxes. So the whole thing about email marketing is dead, that's not true. Email marketing just has to be done well. 3 ways in which we're going to reach first search campaigns, because they are in search engines. We need to optimize our website so that it is ready for people to find us, and so people can find us easily. You need to think of 2 audiences when you're talking about designing your website. Perhaps some of you, let's ask this question. How many of you are in the midst of a website redesign, or it's about to happen? Oh wow, look at that. Very good. Okay, that's about almost half of you. You have to choose those priorities, and let me tell you a huge priority. Make sure your website appeals to 2 audiences when it comes to the content on your website. Human audience, computer audience, which is your search engines. On the human side, fill your site with great content, fresh content, up-to-date, a blog, great way to keep up-to-date content on your website. Great imagery that appeals to the user and brings them in, and great video. And we're going to see some examples of those, so I won't go further into that. But you also need to appeal to the search engines, and there are ways to optimize your site. And this is not a technical discussion, so I'm just going to give you the elevator speech here. When it comes to optimizing your site, if someone ever tells you, oh, I can make you rank in the top of Google tomorrow, that It's probably a lot, okay? All right? Google makes its own rules and we submit to them, not the other way around. You figured that out, right? But here's the best thing you can do. The foundational thing is great content. Google loves that. And the second thing is have targeted keywords. You understand what that would be? The kind of keywords that people need to search for you, and those need to go throughout your site. And they need to be, with the help of people who are technically minded, who build your website perhaps, they need to be put into the tags within your site. So they need to be coded in as well. A lot of you are nodding your heads. You kind of understand this. If you will follow these fundamental things, your site is in a great place. Now, there may need to be more to get deeper and higher rankings, but that's the basis. You can go a step further, and you can reach people where they're searching through online ads. How many of you have used AdWords before? Have ever been in charge of an AdWords, Google AdWords campaign? A few of you, great. And how does this work? It's very simple. You would create an ad, and you would pay Google, basically Google through its AdWords platform, to show that ad when people search for a certain keyword. And the strategy you use in coming up with those keywords and those ads is a strategy that takes some practice, takes some thought, but it really complements well the first one, optimizing your website. Don't use AdWords without the first one, but if you use them together, it's a dynamic complement. And third, there are other paid ad platforms out there. One of the ones that we really like is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is great for audience-targeted ads, whereas Google is a little more keyword-targeted. So you can really catch some people in a way that you wouldn't have with Google AdWords. Second type of campaign is email marketing. How many of you have not checked your email yet today? Very good. I might as well have asked how many of you not brushed your teeth. It might have been the same number, maybe more. I don't know. Very good. Excellent. You see that? We do it all the time. We're doing it all the time. And what happens is sometimes because of that, how many of you hate getting email marketing? You just hate seeing email marketing. Okay, it's fewer than I actually would have expected. So we do have to deal with the fact that people are kind of turned off by getting a lot of emails. But do you have some companies and brands that email market to you and you love it? You know what? I'm just going to shamelessly admit this. I actually love it when I get certain emails from Amazon. Now, not every single one, but certain ones that I've chosen to opt into. I'm excited to see like the deal of the day or whatever, stuff like that. That's really fun. Or Woot. If you're like me, you kind of have fun with Woot. I don't know, I bought a whole lot with them, but they're just kind of fun. Okay? Then there are certain ones, delete, 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 delete. Okay? You need to be in that category that you are delivering very carefully crafted, periodic advice and value to your customers using a great email marketing platform. Third kind of campaign that you need to engage in, social media. Talked about it before. Now, one caveat with social media, and this is something we run into all the time. If you're expecting social media to give you a one-to-one return on your investment, I spend $1, I get $1 within the next month, you're probably going to be very disappointed. However, if you're willing to use social media the way it needs to be used, which is not a monologue, but a dialogue. Social media is where you have to give long before you'll ever get. If you can use that successfully, brands can be incredibly powerful on social media. In fact, they can reach a point to where they're unstoppable because there's so much strength that they have in social media. Okay? So these are the 3 campaigns you need to use to find your audience where they are and bring them to your site. Third, you need to be human. How many of you have brought a nice pack of clean tissues with you today? I advise that now you take it out because we're going to be watching a couple of videos here if our internet works. And if you thought the previous video touched your heartstrings, just be ready, okay? And there's a reason for this. We're going to show you the importance of being human with your audience. Nothing great in the world has ever been accomplished without passion. Now, this was written by a guy who was kind of an odd philosopher, really the foundation of Marxism. Maybe not, depending on where you stand, that's fine, but he's not necessarily the kind of guy you walk into probably and be like, oh, just a nice, engaging guy. But look what he said. Nothing can be accomplished without passion. Notice how effective this is. Something we put up about 10 months ago. And really, all we were doing, this is on our Facebook page, all we were doing was showing this nice picture of my wonderful coworker, Hannah, who's not with us here today. If she were, she'd already be laughing. And Hannah was just, kind of scratching out some logos, and this is how all of our logos start, by the way, by hand. And we just took a shot of her and thought, hey, let's just throw that up on the site and put this little post up. It's not that hard to do, but you know what we did? We got some likes from this, and really what happened here is that we were showing people, hey, we're just real people, just like you and me. That can be incredibly effective, and it's really not that much work, is it? Now sometimes it's more work, especially if it's a video, but you can do this effectively, and it's incredibly powerful. All right, one more how you can do it. Slide. Share your human side and connect with your audience with engaging content. We're only going to talk to you about 2 categories of things. Very, very simple. Photos and videos. Photos, pretty simple. Use photos as often as you can, but make sure they're good, okay? And avoid stock imagery whenever you can, right? If you have a lot of you work with corporations, companies, show pictures of your real people. We had the privilege today of being with a very large company. It's 40 or more locations throughout the nation. And we showed them a video that a lot of them had not even gotten to see. This was the executive team we were showing this to. And they were just blown away because they saw some workers from a branch that someone recognized. And this was an actual branch of theirs, and they saw this video that we had kind of melded it in with their site. They were like, wow, that's amazing. It really is powerful when you show real people doing what they do in your company. Take advantage of Instagram and channels like that that can really make imagery, Pinterest would be another example, really make imagery come to life and work for your website. Now, video. Video is really the new headline, okay? In journalism, there was always the all-important headline, right? And I know it's still important, but video has taken the place of the headline in some ways, in the sense that video is that one huge item that could be that which captures your audience as soon as they arrive at your website. Videos tell your message quickly and powerfully. They also are instantly shareable because of the many venues available to us today and the most consumed content in the world. It is not at all unheard of to have a video be published to YouTube, and in 3 months, 1 million people have seen it. Can you imagine if you could effectively create a video and have 1 million people watch a video with your story, with your brand? Wow, unbelievable. Let's not lose the possibility of taking advantage of this wonderful tool. Okay, we're going to watch a quick little video here if it works.
My son, he was the last child, the only boy.
So my dad's a counselor. I think I hit the stage where my dad was not very cool, and I didn't want to let him know me.
That's when we began to sense he was closing down. We definitely bumped heads quite a bit.
And then I found out my dad had Parkinson's. I didn't know how to respond. It was more in the denial mode. So I had a job lined up on Wall Street right after college, making the money Wall Street can give you. I was not wanting to let my life be controlled by money. One way to do that is you give it away. So I started reverse tithing, giving 90% of my profits to help people. So I called and asked, "What's on your bucket list, Dad? What are your dreams?"
Graham said, "I really want to be there for your later years, fighting this disease." I remember crying on the phone. It's like, wow, he really stepped back in my life.
I guess thinking through Parkinson's and just what's ahead, wanting to make the most of each day, as well as not have any regrets with my relationship with him.
A few months later, he goes, "Well, I got a bonus. I want to take everybody to Costa Rica."
We met his favorite author in Seattle. We went to an NBA playoff game.
The bucket list has definitely changed my view on Parkinson's. I'm free to dream. The golden years are actually going to be golden, even though I'm fighting this disease. Yeah, I never know what's coming next. To fight it, you just keep exercising, keep moving, just hit it head on. So he called me up and said, "Dad, let's do a marathon."
I think there was definitely a feeling of we're in this together.
Graham's encouragement gives me more hope.
Instead of giving up, he got stronger.
He was there literally every step of the way, and I see him doing the same thing with me and Parkinson's.
Seeing him be the father that he's been, it's a way of being generous that also leads to love. I hope to be 1/10 of that someday.
Words can't express what that means as a parent, and that does something to a dad's heart.
Just notice how this video, and just notice the impact that it has for this cause. That is the impact the video can have for any one of our messages and brands that we're communicating. I just want to end with one succinct kind of closing statement, very simple as this. Don't let the tools you have to work with determine what you have to say. Let who you are, as we heard about the first, and what makes you unique, determine your story, and let your story determine how you're going to use your tools. If you'll keep that order, I think you're going to do great. And all this overwhelming number of tools is going to become a great asset for you to communicate your story. Thank you all again for allowing us to be with you. Really enjoyed it. Have a great afternoon.